Monroe Doctrine had a positive impact on the foreign affairs and international relations of the U.S. The Monroe Doctrine, authored by, obviously, James Monroe, was an important document of early American history. James Monroe was a diplomat for a while and then became the President of the United States. I think he was the fourth or fifth president. As a diplomat, he wasn't all that outspoken, so Thomas Jefferson didn't like him as much as like John Jay or some other diplomats, but overall he was generally pretty amicable and friendly. And as president, he even positioned some of his opposition in important government roles in his cabinet. Why did he create the Monroe Doctrine? Well, in I think about 1820, France reinstated a monarchy in Spain, and both Great Britain and the U.S. were concerned that both France and Spain would then try to control like South America and Central America and their colonies there, because during the War of 1812, those colonies had tried to win their independence, but after the War of 1812 ended, they were worried France and Spain would try to regain control. So a British official, William Canning, talked to John Quincy Adams and suggested that they make a joint agreement to keep Europe out of the South America, because they wanted an open market, and they didn't want to have to, through mercantilism, they didn't want to have to go back to trade with France and Spain. They wanted to just trade with the South American countries. John Quincy Adams didn't want this relation with Great Britain because of his father was not associated with them well. So he talked to James Monroe and suggested that Monroe make his own proclamation that they didn't want Europe in the Americas. So the Monroe Doctrine pretty much just said that the U.S. didn't want any colonization in the New World by any European powers, and that the U.S. would stay out of European affairs, and that Europe should then stay out of the U.S.'s affairs in the New World. So they didn't want any new monarchies and stuff in South America. The New World was the land of democracy. There was mixed reactions to the Monroe Doctrine. One Paris newspaper said after all this time, they have realized that they are in charge of the country they stand on, but other newspapers thought that it was kind of an unfounded claim because they had no way of actually supporting the Monroe Doctrine. But it was pretty much enforced by the British Royal Navy, because even though they didn't side with Great Britain still ended up enforcing it, or helping to enforce it. Overall, the Monroe Doctrine set the standard for the future, and because of it, the U.S. Ended up annexing Mexico, and it affected its future treatment of Central and South America. I think, in general, the Monroe Doctrine had a positive impact on the foreign affairs and international relations of the United States.